Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I think I'm playing London buses today. You don't get one arriving for hours and hours and hours and then you get two together, and I think that's the same with my videos. You're getting two today after not having one for days. But anyway, I did promise in my last video that I would share with you a workshop that I went on yesterday, which was absolutely fantastic. It was run by a lady called Anne Brooks, who is a textile artist here in the UK. She's based in Yorkshire, and her studio has a very fun and quirky name. It's called Shed 76 and a half. And I have to say, when I arrived at the studio, it was absolutely stunning. It is chocker with vintage fabrics and laces, buttons, and all Anne's beautiful collage work. Absolutely amazing. I saw Anne's video advertised, no, not her video, her workshop advertised before Christmas, and decided to book on it, which was quite fortuitous because, as I mentioned in my last video, after Christmas, I lost my mojo a little bit and I struggled with the last journal that I've just finished. Normally I have no trouble at all. The pages absolutely flow, they speak to me, and I just have an absolute ball making my journals. But with the last one, for some reason I struggled to pull my pages together so that I was happy with the end result. But having been on Anne's workshop yesterday, I have to say I'm absolutely chocker with inspiration. I just had a lovely, lovely day. From the minute I arrived, Anne greeted me with a steaming hot cup of coffee, which was very welcome after a 2-hour journey over the Yorkshire moors in not too good weather. And nothing was too much trouble. Anne was there on hand. The workshop attendees were only a small number, and was on hand answering any questions. Nothing was too much trouble in the slightest. So it was an absolute pleasure and delight to be on. Last year, Anne did a project which she called Sew for the Soul, sew as in SEW, and it was a slow stitching project. And she's doing the same again in 2020, which is to do a piece like this every month and add to it every month. So it will be a continuous roll. And Anne is putting hers on a vintage spool, larger than the ones that this one is planned for. And the idea is that you will roll your fabric onto it. Now, obviously, I would need a much bigger spool for this project if I was continuing it to the end of the year. But what I actually plan to do is thread through here and have it as a wall hanging when it's finished. But please take a look at Anne's, and she's giving us the opportunity to join in and post our own photographs and images of our own projects on her Facebook and Instagram feed, and she will be uploading each month, so I understand, showing how her vintage roll progresses and evolves. And I have to say, I know that she's uploaded 2 videos so far, one for January and one for February, but having seen her fabric roll in the flesh yesterday and looked at the stitching, oh, it's gorgeous. Trust me, it looks even better in the flesh than it does on the videos that she's posted already. So if you fancy joining in and taking part, then please take a look at her videos and her Facebook page. So this is what I did yesterday. It is a collage really of laces, labels, some cutout fabric images, buttons, a little ruff, as you can see, and it's more of a background piece. This would be akin to a blank journal page, and then you start embellishing it. Oh, I'm off camera there, sorry. You start embellishing it with your own slow stitching. and adding buttons and all sorts on it. So I will be doing that over the next month. I unfortunately am not going to take part in Anne's 2020 project, Sew for the Soul, because I just don't have the time. I've got an heirloom journal in the pipeline, if you will, for my own personal use. I've got some reserve orders still outstanding that I need to get finished, and I have a shed load of project boxes of other journals that I want to get round to finishing off. But I will post over the next maybe 2 months how I get on finishing this off. I'm not bothered how the back will look, because I'm going to back it on to some fabric, so the back is all neat. The only thing I will say is please don't judge me too harshly. It's years since I've done any slow stitching, so I need to get my eye back in for any embroidery and stitchery work. Let me tell you, when I arrived, Anne had oodles of packs of various colours of fabric, vintage fabric, laces, etc., that we could choose from to work with, and I chose this colourway. So these are some of the fabrics that were in my pack, and there is loads of it, absolutely loads. So there was plenty of packs to choose from, and each pack had got loads of fabric in to work with. And it's lovely, lovely fabric, lovely feel to it. There were dyed doilies. Everything was colour coordinated, so I've chopped into that one. As you can see, I've used a bit of the trim there. There were dyed laces. There was this piece of trim. It's quite, well, I think it's part of a placemat, or maybe even a tray runner, something like that. It's quite a thick one. Maybe somebody's crocheted that. It's quite heavy. I'm not sure if I'll use that. I prefer the daintier look. Then there was a massive piece of this, which I've chopped into. And then Anne had dotted around her studio gorgeous vintage suitcases full of lace, vintage buttons, vintage trim, vintage fabrics, doilies that you could just go and delve into and take whatever you wanted. You could take as much as or as little as you wanted, and was really so generous. So these are some of the pieces that I lifted out to use. Excuse me. You can see I've chopped a piece out of that lovely doily. Another piece of trim here. And some more here. Gorgeous fine pieces. They're going to be lovely. And then these pieces, which I've chopped apart. This was one doily. There we go. Those lovely pieces. And that's the portion I chopped out. I haven't used it yet. That's another piece. Look at the detail on the end of that. It's lovely. And this was a bigger doily. I tend to think of these more as dressing table mats. I remember my mum having these on her dressing table when I was a child, and there's a smaller one there. And then this is some of the backing fabric. But I think the idea with these pieces, excuse me, is that you would dye them. And one of the things that Anne did in the workshop was she showed us how to dye our own threads. She gave us 6 of these very generous size bundles of thread, all different sizes. And these are 2 bundles that I didn't get round to dyeing. And she showed us how to dye them. I can't find my other spool. Okay, there was another spool knocking around a moment ago. I seem to have lost it. Okay, I dyed 3 lots of thread, and Anne showed us the technique for doing that so that our threads are colour coordinated with our projects. And also you could, now that we know how to do that, we could dye any of these laces or doilies so that they colour coordinate. But Anne was lovely. Once she showed us the technique, we then carried on with working on our individual projects, whilst Anne very kindly dried these for us, laboriously dried them, and then wound them onto these little makeshift spools. So that was very, very, very kind of her. So she also gave us these little spools to use for our fabric pieces, and I appear to have picked up an extra one of these somewhere. But in the process, I've lost one of these because I dyed 3 of my thread bundles, and I had 3 that weren't dyed that I was going to home dye. But there was still plenty there that Anne was quite happy for us to take if we wanted more of these undyed thread bundles. As I say, nothing was too much trouble. She was there to answer all of our questions. She allowed us to use all her lovely threads and fabrics, her own personally dyed threads and fabrics. It was just lovely. Nothing was too much trouble, as I said. She also showed us how to prepare fabric so that we could type on it and use the words that we've typed on it, on the fabric, in our projects, which was fascinating. And I will certainly be doing that again in the future. So as I said, if you fancy having a go with Anne's Sew for the Soul 2020 project, go and have a look at her website, her YouTube channel, her Facebook, her Instagram feed. She is worth checking out, really. Her work is absolutely amazing. So thank you everyone for allowing me to wax lyrical about the workshop I was on yesterday. I hope you enjoyed me sharing the information with you. I always find it wonderful when somebody points me in the direction of a new artist. It's a bit like being in a sweet shop when you start looking at all their inspiration and all their YouTube videos. So enjoy everyone. Thank you so much again for letting me share with you. Take care. Bye bye now.